Okay, it's working. Okay, hi guys. I am back. I am at the clinic. It's Wednesday, our half day, and you might see me looking everywhere except at the screen. You know why? And I'm still holding the phone. I mean, I'm still holding the camera. I'm spoiling it. Look guys, what's right here? It's my phone. I finally got a camera, and I know how to use cameras, I swear I do, but it's my first time ever using it, and I have the little fancy camera that like flips up so I can like see myself as I'm talking. I swear this is not a mark on my neck. I must have got bit by something. I actually went to the shelter today. No telling what that is, but I feel like, oh my God, like so unprofessional. And I know there's nothing on my neck, but oh my gosh. Anyways, I am here to tell you guys a little bit, as the title of this video says, Tech to Vet, a little bit of more on my journey of how I got here. It's actually a response to someone that commented on the first video that I've posted since kind of doing my rebrand and starting back up. And I just want to kind of talk to you guys about how it is going from being a vet tech or assistant to now being the veterinarian, specifically at a clinic that I once worked at and now I own. I'm gonna sit my little happy self down because I don't know how to be still. We're gonna kind of turn this to adjust the lighting. Okay, see now it's red everywhere. Now I feel like I have a rash, which I shouldn't be like stroking myself, because one thing about working in a clinic, you do deal with like zoonotic diseases. We deal with stuff that like dogs and cats get, whether it can infect us or just irritates us. I don't know how like content creators do this. I don't have time to make this like my everyday thing and it to just be natural, so I have not script, something to answer you guys' questions on. So first things first, and I'll kind of like go, I wrote it in the order that the person asked, but the main thing is like, how does it feel to have previously been a tech? And for me, like, it's very interesting because all my life I've wanted to be a vet. All my life was going to school, taking science classes. I mean, I can even think back to high school, like taking AP classes, taking as much sciences as I could. Then when I went to college, I made sure I went to a school that had a vet program, because I'm pretty sure every school that has a vet school has an animal science undergrad program, unless some of the newer schools don't, but at the time they did. And then it was just like going straight through, going to college, going to vet school, and then all the times when I was in school during those breaks, I was always a tech or an assistant. And I don't want to say tech because I never had my license, and I do want to give credit to licensed vet techs because that's what that term means. Vet assistant is for non-licensed credentials. And that's what I did. I was like married to someone's clinic every break. So I first got my first job when I was 16 at a family friend's clinic. And I paid so much of my experience and opportunities to him because he let me do things I probably should not have been doing at 16, but like lo and behold, it has opened so many doors. So when I was 18, I knew that he was on his way out to retiring. I knew I needed a little bit more up-to-date experience. He had graduated from vet school in the 60s, and I was like, I'm going to college now. I need like a little bit more like something. I went to the University of Georgia. I saw their teaching hospital, and I knew I wasn't getting like that, you know, quality of medicine with him. And so back in the day, before everything was online, I went around giving all my resumes out, just literally driving around. My parents are divorced, so I looked at clinics near my mom's house. I looked at clinics near my dad's house because I was like, wherever I am, like I can commute from one of their houses. And I just happened to drive by an all-cat clinic. I didn't even know those existed. And I walked in, I gave my resume, and they were like, we're not hiring right now. And I was like, okay. And I had maybe been to like 6 or 7 clinics at that point, and I was like, I'm tired. Should I look up a few more in the area? Should I go home? I can distinctly remember pulling into a Walmart parking lot, and I was just like looking up a couple of other places on my phone, and they called me back and they said, hey, are you still in the area? Our manager wants to talk to you. If you can come back in. I was like, heck yes, I can come back in. So I went back in, they talked. They said we're not really hiring, but they would do a working interview just to see. So I think that was like maybe a Friday, like maybe the next week I went in for a working interview. Everything went fine. They asked what was I making. At that point I was making $8.50 an hour. They told me they would start me at $9.50 an hour if I could place a catheter. And there was a cat getting ready for surgery, and I placed a catheter, and they were amazed because at 18 I could actually place a catheter like confidently, and especially in a cat. So they said, you got the job. I was also super embarrassed because strangely enough I was sick and nauseous on my working interview, and I was like, I promise this is not a reflection of my character. And I was like, they're not gonna hire me because they're gonna think I'm lazy and I just want to sit around. But they did, and the rest is history. And I loved that clinic. I was married to it. Like every break, every Thanksgiving, every Christmas, every summer break, I was at this cat clinic. It wasn't this clinic because it was a different building, but I just wanted to be there. And then when I was in undergrad, during the school year, I part-time worked at 2 different clinics in Athens, Georgia. But cat care was home to me. And the original doctor that I used to work for used to always just tell me like she wishes I was closer to being done with vet school because she would sell me the clinic. And I took that very personal, which is actually like one of the questions in here was like, has this always been a dream? Like, did you ever see yourself owning it? And for me, every clinic that I had ever worked at, and still to this day have ever worked at, was private owned. It was always private practice. I've never worked for Banfield, for VCA, for Blue Pearl, for any of those. I mean, nowadays there's so many smaller corporations out there, but I had never worked for anywhere corporate. So for me, all my mentors were people who own their own clinic. So yes, that has always been the dream. And of course, owning a cat clinic had become the dream. Whether I took over ownership of this one, whether I moved and opened my own, or whether I went to like work somewhere, I knew I wanted to work in an all cat clinic. And then when I started going to vet school, I knew it was mostly a dog industry, and unfortunately it is out there, but I knew once I graduated, I was gonna be working with cats. And so in 2018, which was the year that I actually started vet school, the old owner actually decided to sell the practice. Luckily, the practice manager at the time, she wasn't a vet, but she bought the clinic. And I was kind of sad because obviously if she bought it, she was gonna have it. And I was like, dang, 4 more years and that clinic could have been mine. But I still kept going. Like I adored the practice manager and the doctor. Like they have supported me so much on this journey of everything. So I still worked there and everything. And then when I got through vet school, she had been dealing with a lot of like relief doctors and part-time doctors. And she took on a new grad doctor shortly, about 6 to 8 months before I was going to graduate. And so it sucked. But I was just like, I have to go find a job elsewhere. And that's where I went, and I started working at a nonprofit here in Atlanta. So not corporate, technically not private owned, but it was a private owned nonprofit, if that makes sense. But then the practice manager decided to sell it. And the vet working here, even though she was in the family of the original doctor, she didn't want it. And I was like, well, yeah, am I gonna get approved for a loan for it? That was like my main concern, and I did. And so it is very surreal because one, I never anticipated on owning anyone's clinic, whether it was this clinic I used to work at or anyone's clinic, a year and a half, some change out of school. Because last year when I bought the clinic, at the day I signed the lease and the loans and everything, I had officially been graduated for about a year and a half. But when I started this loan process, like literally in January of 2024, I had literally just hit a year from like ending clinics, from walking out of my last door. And so like, it wasn't my 5-year plan to even begin thinking about owning a clinic. So the fact that like, here I am a little over now, like to this day, 2 years out of school and I own a clinic is very surreal. It's kind of scary when I think about it. And I think about some of my classmates who are still in residency, who did internships and training programs. And I think those things are great, but it's just also, I'm about to fall. It's amazing like where I myself am. I told some people the reason I didn't do an internship was like, I in no way think I know everything, but I did feel confident stepping out of vet school because I spent 7.5 years in a clinic all the time. There's so many people who go to vet school that say like, yeah, I worked in a clinic, or I worked in a clinic this summer, but like, I worked in a clinic. Like it wasn't just like a summer break for hours. Like for me, it was like, even if I never went to vet school, this is still where I would be. And so I know that was a long, like what, 8 minutes now of me explaining how I got here, but it means more to me that it's the clinic that I used to work at, because to me, like there's values of things that I took from the practice manager, from the original vet here, that I don't want to die just because I'm the owner. And it's nice because there's so many clients that I remember their cats. Like I've euthanized some cats that I remember boarding like through the years when I was like 19 and 20 years old. And it's nice because there's some people that their cats still come, and I'm like, hey guys, they've been coming to us for years because they were here when I was a tech. And some of the clients don't even know me because I was always in the back and I was only here seasonal. But it just means that more to me, that like we still have those loyal clients that have like stayed here through it all. And so the other thing that was also put in this was like, what services does this clinic offer? And so the original vet who owned it made an all cat clinic, and like most people, she started off with dogs and cats, but then she made a cat only clinic. And so she also liked exotic mammals, and I too like exotic mammals. I have a cute little bunny at home. His name is Pablo, and like he's kind of my favorite pet right now. And I love like the cats, and like I genuinely don't see myself working with dogs. Like I've done a couple of relief shifts. I do some nonprofit work still on the side and things like that, but cats are where my happy place is. But so the main services that are different, or the main thing that that we do as a cat clinic, we're general practice. We do surgery, we do blood work and lab equipment, we do annual vaccines and things like that. We even offer boarding here exclusively. And you can see a clinic tour video where I kind of walk through the clinic. But I would say kind of improvements and new ideas are obviously, like, medicine is ever changing. So going to conferences, staying up to date with specifically cat medicine. A lot of times, you know, again, the pet industry is a dog dominated industry. So many of my colleagues go to school because they love dogs. I know a lot of my colleagues don't like cats. They treat cats because they have to, but they don't love cats. There are cat advocates at dog clinics. There is the one vet that loves cats, that wants to see the spicy cat, that wants to advocate for that cat. And you have the techs that do too. But a lot of times, like in general, like you see cats treated as small dogs. I even got a cat the other day that has a diagnosis of something that's already very rare in dogs. And it's like, it's described in cats, but you don't see it. And it's so many other things that I'm like, how did you land here without excluding X, Y, and Z first? Or how did you get to D but you ignore A, B, C? And so it's interesting how sometimes you'll see diagnoses from cats coming from other clinics, and then we redo it. And so I mean, that's one of our main things, is that here we just advocate for cats. We think of cats first. We specifically go to extra training for cats. And then improvements, I don't even want to call it improvements, but like new services and new ideas. I have ultrasound now. For me, I really like holistic and like natural medicine. I don't think it excludes Western and conventional medicine, but I definitely think that you should never have to tell an owner there's nothing else you can do. We had a cancer patient that I suspected was cancer of the tongue. We ended up referring it out to a specialist. I didn't think there was a lot to do for the tongue specifically, but for the cancer, I was like, we can do things. The ER doctor recommended euthanasia. And she came back because she was like, I do want to pursue some integrative therapies. And we helped the cat live another 6 weeks when she could have like put the cat down there. The cat actually improved in the energy, ate quite a bit. And it wasn't until the cat stopped eating, which we had kind of discussed back and forth, that when she stops eating, that's when there's really nothing else to do. But I really do think we slowed down some of the growth of that tumor doing integrative medicine and using medical ozone and herbal therapies and things like that. And so that's one of the main things for me, is that like there are integrative and holistic vets, but so much of that medicine is dog targeted. And I want it to be the person that says this can be exclusively for cats too, not for dogs, and I don't know what to do for cats, but we'll kind of give it something. And it's also thinking outside of the box. It's always hard to get cats to eat medicine and accept certain treatments. And so for dogs, things are just made because you can hide it in a dog's food. But the main thing with me is that I wanted to show that we will work with you to show you how to better do this for your cat. I would say improvement for quality of medicine. Like I said, we got the ultrasound to do more diagnostics. We started offering dental x-rays, which they weren't doing that before I started. We've restructured some of like the finances and things here, things that I didn't really understand why certain things were priced a certain way. So some of our prices came down actually, and I think it's just made it more realistic to just be able to explain to someone, to my next person coming behind me, if I ever had to get another office manager, like why things are the way they are. And the only other thing, new ideas I would say, is like I've tried to do more for boarding. So our boarding room was originally just like plain tan, and now we painted it. We also started and put a catio outside. Again, you can see this in the boarding video. And upstairs now, because it's kind of dark because it's on our 3rd floor and it's only one window up there, I just want to kind of get mood lighting and different lights so that the cats can like look at things. We can change the ambiance of things if we know we have a very stressed cat. And we've even started offering like veterinary specific and it's recommended by a veterinarian. Essential oils that are specific for animals and that are safe for animals. Very diluted, very well diluted for these stressful situations. Different things like that. I've just tried to do improvements, and again, looking not at just the generic things that are always recommended. The last new idea I would say is like potentially expansion. It's a very small building that we live in, or that we work in, but I love this building. And the only other like diagnostic that I would want is like endoscopy, especially because cats vomit so much. Being able to look and make sure that sometimes cats will live with like hair ties in their stomach for years. They eat it as a kitten and then they vomit the rest of their life. So I mean, it never passes and it never comes up. And sometimes you can take biopsies of their stomach and things to make sure they don't have cancer there, to make sure they don't have an infection, just different things. So I do want to get that. But I'm satisfied with the services that I've already offered, which I missed doing fecal transplants. I saw it do wonders at a clinic in California that I externed at, and I'm waiting to get that ball rolling here. We've done a few of them in the beginning and we kind of have fallen off of it, but it is something we offer. So this video has gotten very long, but all of that is to say, you know, has this always been the dream? And it definitely has. And it's interesting because my dad actually showed me a video that I made a couple years back. It was a get to know me video. Someone asked in it, I think it was just like, what do I want in my career? I want to open my own clinic, specifically a cat only clinic, maybe do exotics, but like, yeah, they tell me the money's where dogs is, but like my heart would be happy with a cat clinic. So yeah. So anyways, that video got very long. And as I'm recording this, I know this video is almost 20 minutes long. So if you're watching this and it's much shorter than 20 minutes, just know that I actually edited that story of how I was a tech to be a vet. Because I think about you, I think about you guys. But like I said, I've been trying to get more consistent with these videos, and ideas like this really help. So whether you follow me on Instagram or follow me on TikTok or just follow me here, leave ideas. I'm trying to get more consistent. I swear I am. It's hard out here. It's hard out here being a business owner and being the doctor and paying the bills and then still having fun recording videos. It's funny because I have a consultant that recommended me get somebody to edit my videos, and I was like, no, but I actually really enjoy it. It's actually something to make me stop working. So, so yeah, that's not gonna stop, at least not right now, because it is something I enjoy. And again, I'm still so early in my career. It's a hard grind right now, but I still want to do the things that I enjoy. And speaking of hard grinds, I'm actually doing a talk at Tuskegee University coming up for their vet business club. And I will say, for schools local being Georgia, Tuskegee is just right over the border, but Tuskegee, like local being Georgia, I am interested in doing in-person talks. If this is someone who is maybe in undergrad or in vet school that wants me to come talk to maybe a feline club, a pre-vet club, or a business club, even an integrative or holistic club, if your school has that, you can definitely reach me. My email should be on my YouTube page and I'll put it under this video. But I'm also more than happy to do virtual lectures. I did quite a few of them earlier this year when a lot of vet students realized that I now own my clinic, and I did them at Long Island University, I did UGA, I did Tuskegee, I think I did NC State as well. So more than happy if you have a student or know anyone that might want that, because I think it's nice to see younger veterinarians and professionals doing things like this. It seems like something you do when you're late into your career and very seasoned, but you definitely can't do it. So leave ideas, reach out to me. I love all the things that I used to love, even if I'm just a little bit slower to provide and respond. But as always, be sure to follow me on my socials, like this, subscribe, comment, and until next time,